Hey, everybody, it's Patty Dobrovolsky with Up Your Creative Genius. Oh my God, today I have just one of my favorite people in the universe, Deena Pierott. Now, listen, so if you don't know who Deena Pierott is, I'm going to give you the lowdown on her, and then she's going to tell us about herself. But first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been subscribing and listening to the podcast and writing reviews. Oh, you drove us up in the charts. It's fantastic. I love it. And I'm so grateful. I am, because this podcast is all about making change, how you can make change happen. And I've invited all these change makers who have decided to change the world for other people or for themselves or their business. And so Deena Pierott is a serious change maker. I got to read you her bio. Okay. So she is a sought after diversity strategist, talent acquisition professional, and international keynote speaker. No doubt. She's created cutting edge DEI programs that yield results and impact. And you know, we need that. Okay. But here's what I want to say. She served on a number of boards. She's really super amazing. And she started iUrbanTeen, which really helped to advance and allow for kids who didn't have access to computers to get them. And so I know you're going to talk a little bit about that, but before we go on, I want to say this, that she was honored to be acknowledged by President Barack Obama as a White House champion of change for technology inclusion, and by Ebony magazine on their Power 100 list. She is been in Essence magazine, the top 50 Black female founders. She's just amazing. I'm telling you, if I showed you this list of awards, we'll be here forever. But oh my God, welcome to the show, Deena Pierott. Woo!
Oh,
You're amazing. Woo!
Oh, wow. Thank you. When I hear that stuff, I'm going, is that me that did all that? Because a lot of times you're so busy working and creating that you have to sometimes stop and look back at, I did this.
I know it.
I did this. Oh, no, I was getting ready to cuss. I got it.
That's okay. You should have seen somebody else I had was just F-bomb every other word.
Oh,
so
my
it's
gosh.
all right. You're all right.
Yeah,
so, but here's the thing.
It's amazing.
You are just incredible. And I met you because somebody decided that we should meet. We hooked up. We had lunch together with
and it was
Layla Bird, your granddaughter in Portland. And we were both like, what are we doing in Portland? Wow, this place is weird. I mean, it was so weird there. And neither one of us live there anymore. So there you have it, right?
I know. There you have it. But did you think it was just an instant connection? I mean, your personality, it was just like, look, instant friends.
I know it. It's so good. And so I've just been following. I stalk you all the time to see what you're up to. And then I post things about her. Deena Pierott. She's so amazing. So follow her and do stuff with her. Now tell us, if you would, in your own words, tell us about you and how you got started doing what you're doing, and, anything you want to share about it.
Well, I'm going to try to make it a shorter story, because usually I tell this long story, but with
international keynote speaker that goes on and on
and on and on. Sometimes I think I'm a Baptist preacher. But,
exactly. We love that.
But, I always like to say, what's the why? What's your why in things that you do? And sometimes you end up in a space that you didn't think you would be in, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I kind of fell into the diversity equity work back in the 90s when I moved up to Portland from Compton, California.
All right. So there you go right now. Compton, California. I'm from LA, so I know all about Compton. But moving to Portland is a pretty white city.
Girl, it was the whitest. Let me tell you, it's the whitest white folks I've ever seen in my life. Okay. And I even started fading. I was not this color in California, but oh my God. But Patty, I instantly saw this disconnect. I saw this inequity on how people of color, especially the Black community, was treated.
Yeah.
I was called the N-word, I don't know how many times, and I'm going, I've never been called that in California, right? Not that it doesn't happen, but it didn't happen to me.
Right.
I also saw, when working in the workplace, the inequities there as well. I also saw how my own people and other people of color kind of were a little complacent to things, where they didn't know how or didn't feel like they needed to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
Well,
so would they just let it slide when
They
things
would
would
let it
happen? They'd let it
slide.
slide and just go with it.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's the way it is here.
And see, that was not me,
Scary.
honey. Oh no,
Yeah,
not me
yeah.
at all.
No.
And so I instantly started creating different forums and different initiatives at the city of Portland.
Yeah.
And so and a lot of them, and it was interesting because I worked for a director at a bureau who was from the East Coast. And he wholeheartedly gave me the platform to do what I did.
All right.
You know, I felt that he truly trusted my decisions.
Yes.
He believed in diversity and equity, and gave me the floor and let me run with it. And I ran like hell. So I was able to create, like I created the city's affinity groups that they have, or employee resource groups, in partnership with the mayor's office, the commissioners, and all that, and made it really meaty. I created so many different initiatives. Oh my gosh, I made sure that all of our interview panels were diverse. I ensured that all of our panels for contract reviews were diverse. And that was in the 90s before it became popular.
Wow, that's crazy.
But I also advocated for myself, and that scared a lot of people, you know, because there's this woman of color, a Black woman, that is holding her own and not letting you get away with this. And so, but what made me sad, Patty, was a lot of the employees from different bureaus would come to me and they would go, Deena, can you ask my boss if I could do this, if I can go here?
Oh my God.
That saddened me. That saddened me, you know, and
that makes me sad too, because that means that they don't feel empowered enough to go. They don't have the confidence to go, maybe because somebody slapped them down. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
This is what happens.
Right. The fear,
fear of losing your job.
Exactly. And so I would tell them, no, you can tell them, and this is what you say and how you say it. They still wouldn't do it. So I would still go to their directors and ask these questions. And so, but someone told me, and I remember this was in like the late 90s. One of my own folks from the Black community said, Deena, you're too opinionated. You rock the boat too much. You have to make them comfortable, meaning I needed to make white people comfortable. And I'm like, I don't need to make anybody comfortable.
Exactly.
And I say, hold on a second. What plantation did I just arrive on?
Exactly.
Right?
That's
and
right.
so, but that kind of pushback from not only the white community, but my own community made me try harder. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
that's fantastic.
So I was creating initiatives that were way ahead of their time, and people are just now catching on. Right. So that was my quest. And that was my journey into the diversity, equity, belonging, inclusion arena. And so I still get asked from different companies to either keynote or to lead their teams on edgy, innovative ways to change policy. How do you look at this through an equity lens? You know, and how do you do it? Not me, not how I do. How do you do it? Right.
Yeah.
Within those companies. So that was the DEI journey.
Yeah.
Now let's go to iUrbanTeen.
Yeah, because I want to talk about them. I know
you want to talk about my
love them.
Team.
Well, the other thing is that I know, I mean, honestly, I'm a gay woman. So you can imagine my story isn't exactly the same, but it is about you. You have to come out every second. And then, you know, I live in Texas now. So come on, people. I had to go meet my neighbors, and my neighbors were kind of like really skeptical about us. And then, you know, a young transgender kid came and left a card at our door and said, thank goodness you have that sign in your front lawn, because now I know that there's possibility for me.
Oh, see,
right.
You never know.
You never know
who you're the role model for.
That's right.
Or what pathways you're helping to create someone, how you're helping their voice be heard. You never know. But for you, or just to think, if you didn't speak up, if you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin, you know, think about the health issues, the mental health issues.
Yes.
That would be steaming inside. That's why I tell people, say something. If you feel that you've just had a micro or macro aggression thrown your way, say something. It may not be that instant. It may not be that same day. It may not be that week. But at some point, I need to come to Patty and say, Patty, you know what you mentioned to me, what you said to me last week, blah, blah, blah. It really felt like a microaggression. That's how it felt for me.
Yeah.
How can we bridge this? You know, how
Yeah.
could we do this differently? You need to be comfortable enough to have that kind of conversation. Don't own that shit, okay?
Yeah.
Get
Don't
it
take it
out.
in. Don't
Don't
take it
take it
in and
in.
don't try to change yourself. This is me. Like I remember I wanted to write a book called How to Be Yourself in Corporate America, because you have to be yourself.
You have to be
And
yourself.
you cannot. I mean, now, thankfully, some things are breaking open, but in big companies, it's still the same. It's
and I
still
still
the same.
say, I still say that's not the company for you if
Exactly.
if you feel that way.
Exactly.
And that's why I tell all of my folks, and even our students in iUrbanTeen,
Yeah.
one of the things we teach them is how do you best advocate for yourself?
Oh, I
Right?
love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
starting
So
that
how did you
now.
start that? How did you
Well,
start iUrbanTeen?
You know, the story goes, I was a commissioner here on Governor Gregoire's Commission on African American Affairs back in 2006 to 2011. And at the time, all of our ethnic commissions were talking about the opportunity gap issue, especially for male youth of color.
Yeah.
You know, falling through the cracks, being marginalized,
Yeah.
disenfranchised, not having a clear pathway. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not one to sit back in meetings and boards and just talk something to death over and over
Right.
the
We got to
years.
get things going. We got to
I got to
activate
make something
it.
happen. Yeah, you got to make something
Exactly.
happen now. So
That's
I
right.
instantly started looking in my community, seeing
Yeah.
how if our families knew about the Running Start program,
Yep.
which is an amazing program where
Yes.
kids can graduate high school with not only a diploma, but with an associate's degree. The issue was a lot of our brown and black families weren't aware of it because the school counselors weren't telling them.
Yeah,
right?
of course not. That's right.
Of course not. And so we were making sure that happened. Then I was asked to participate on a Chief Information Officer Council in Portland. And I told my friend Mark, who arranged these councils all across the country, but I'm not a CIO. He goes, I know that, but you're innovative and we need you. So I went, okay, works for me. And so I went to the very first meeting, Patty, and I was a little late getting to the party. And so I opened the door and it's a room full of white men.
Yeah.
So imagine me walking in there with an Afro wig on. All right. I had a big curly Afro wig.
Yes.
I had a leopard print jacket, blazer.
Yes.
And big hoop earrings.
I love it.
I went, oh, okay. And so, during that meeting, I was sitting there and I said to myself, okay, so over here we have these youth who are being disenfranchised, marginalized, clearly don't have a pathway for success, but in this room is where the opportunities are.
That's right.
So how do I bridge this divide? And during that lunch meeting, I thought up iUrbanTeen. And within 6 months, we launched with the help of some of those men in the room who were still engaged with me after all of these years.
Oh, that's
And so we launched iUrbanTeen in October 2011, exactly 10 years ago. This is our 10th year anniversary.
Wow, that is incredible.
And I knew from the first event that we had to keep going because I saw this magic happening, you know, during those sessions, because everything we do is fast-paced, hands-on, kind of eclectic, cool, kind of funky, you know, all of that, but it grabs them. It grabs their attention.
Yeah.
So since
they need.
So since we launched in that
2011
date, in 2011, we have since launched in Seattle, Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston. We've also, we're hoping to launch in New York and also in Miami, Florida, as well as several other cities in 2022 and 2023.
Does that mean you get to go to those cities and go to the launch? They see now, that's right. And when you were coming to Texas, come on, you should call me because that's where I am now.
Are you in Dallas or are you in Houston or Austin?
I'm in Fort Worth. I'm close enough. I could come to Dallas.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
Dallas. Well, you know, we're going to be working with the city of Dallas on expanding our programs there. So
there we go.
I will definitely let you know.
That's for sure. I love it. All right. So you set up iUrbanYouth, right? And you really helped them to create some programs that gave them access they didn't have before to, you know, tools and resources. And you do internships too? How did you set all that up?
We do. You know, we started just kind of grassroots having these paid internship programs in Portland for high school students.
Yeah.
And with partnership with Cigna. And then there was a company, IOTIS, that was there as well. And now, because we've had so many youth over the years that have been with our program, now they're in college. So we had to launch iUrbanUniversity.
Oh yeah, I bet.
That especially for that is for our over 18 crowd.
Yeah.
And so now
do they get mentorship and things like this? Yeah.
We have mentors that work with them.
Yeah.
We have diverse instructors that work with them, and all. The thing that for this iUrbanUniversity, that's where we have our scholarships. We have our paid college internships there.
Oh my
and
God.
Now we are launching a support engineer training program with Microsoft that launches early next month.
I love it. All
and
right.
That's so we have women, we have Black women in this first cohort, ages 19 to 46. That will be trained by Microsoft and also go through the certification process where they can get jobs starting at 80 to 90,000 a year after 120 hours worth of training.
Oh my God, that's so fantastic. Now, is this Black women in STEM? That's separate.
That's separate. That's iUrbanTeen.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that is so incredible. All right, so now talk about your latest thing, Black women in STEM.
Black women in STEM 2.0. And we call it 2.0 because, we changed the M in STEM to manufacturing because math is interwoven in all the other elements as well, in sciences and technology and engineering. Math is already interwoven in that. So we wanted to add manufacturing because that's a segment that's sometimes overlooked in the whole STEM arena.
Definitely.
So a couple of years ago, some of my colleagues and I wanted to create a platform or an association for women that are in those spaces that we can brainstorm, have training sessions for, conferences for, and basic networking and also sister fellowship.
That's right.
And so that's what we did. And so this year, we were supposed to have our conference last year, but because of COVID, we had to cancel.
Of course.
So this year we are having the conference, and it's a hybrid where we will have in-person events and virtual sessions.
I love that.
This Friday and Saturday here in Bellevue, which is a community right outside of Seattle.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. I love that. All right. So look at how many so for those of you that are listening, so here is somebody that saw a need way back in the 90s. And then just built that, went to bat for everything that she believes in, and then started to build the infrastructure to help other people. And this is what we're talking about, is when you want to make change in the world, like yours is about big change in the world so that it will impact, your grandkids, it will impact your neighbors, your community. So these are the things that you did, but you are such an innovator because you sat in that room of all those. This is me. I'm imagining that because that's me too. I walk in rooms with all white men and I'm thinking, oh yeah, okay. Now we're going to have fun. Now I'm going to be myself and you guys are going to love me at the end or else. Right.
Yeah.
And part of it is that you have to use your woo strength, but you also have to, in that moment, you have to really build a bridge between your state of consciousness and theirs. And that's what you are. You excel at that.
Well,
how do you do that? How do you do that? What is it that you do that you tap into in yourself to hear what needs to be done?
Well, I just kind of sit back. I think I blame my mom for making me think and understand that I could do anything. Right. Yeah. And I believed it. I fell for it.
Yeah.
And so I still believe, I still know. It's not that I believe, I know that I can do anything.
Well, right? And you have such a history that there's no reason why you shouldn't believe. But what if you're a young person coming up, or even if you've been working in a corporation for a long time or working for somebody else in the city for a long time and you feel like, oh yeah, but it's too late and I'm almost going to retire. Why would I want to rock the boat? What would you say to them?
Oh, it's never too late. It's never too late. Like I just turned 63, on October 6th, and I'm already thinking about what's the next best thing. What's the next thing I can do? Right.
Yes.
It's I don't know how some of us fell into that trap of, okay, well, now you're over 50, so it's time to slow down. Everything
Yeah.
is downhill from this point on. I
Yeah.
don't know who fed
Yeah.
us that malarkey.
No, that was
know.
really, I mean, because
Yeah.
now, I'm older than you. So that's fantastic.
Are you?
I'm like, yeah, I'm a year older than you.
Oh,
And
'cause
so,
I'm like, we look good, girl. We look good.
I'm just saying. And part of it is that we want to make sure that we're evolving. This is what you're saying is what's my next thing? So that I want to know, like when you have a vision for yourself, what do you think, what's interesting to you right now? What are you fascinated with that you can tell us about?
Well, I think that for me, because I'm so people-centered, I really want to do something, if it is my own like digital online magazine for women over 50, women of color over 50 in particular, because that's an audience that's overlooked a lot of times. Almost kind of like a lifestyle brand type of thing that I want to do. I want to get into podcasting, like you.
Yes.
So that's what I feel that the next layer is for me.
Yes.
Something that's really cool and fun.
Yeah.
iUrbanTeen will always be at my heart, but I'm building up the infrastructure now where I have now a managing director for Portland and Southwest Washington. We'll have
so you have your
directors.
Infrastructure in there and the people that can do it. And
pretty soon it's when do I have all the gears in place where I can just kind of sit back and chill.
That's so funny because when I saw you in Portland, you talked about that then. So what's true is that you have multiple gears now. Before you were just working one gear for a while.
Yeah, I was working
or
one
two gear, right? And now you got like 4 gears all going at the same time. So I think will be really, really amazing to see. And who is inspirational to you right now in the world, who you look out and you see and you think, wow, that is cool. I like that. Whatever they're doing. Is there anybody that is a role model for you, either now or in the past, that really has helped you and helps you as you get going on ideas? Do you have like your little cadre of sisterhood that you talk to about things? Do you?
Well, and that's interesting because I think back on the person that really was my inspiration. And I know it may sound a little corny and all, but it was my mother, and she passed away suddenly in 2010. I am such a rogue that there really isn't anyone out there that I see that I want to learn from or anything. Yeah. And it's sad to say, but it's true. Sometimes when you are so much into your own channel.
Yep. It's hard I know.
I have a lot of mentees or women that want to consult with me on how do I do this? How do I do what you do? So, but there's not a whole lot of others that I see that I can connect with or brainstorm on, because usually what I'm thinking about and what I'm envisioning is so far out there that no one's been there yet.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. And so really what you're doing is you're tapping into your own creative genius and letting that flow. So you just unlock that. And so tell me, what's your daily routine that you go through that helps you unlock your creative genius? What do you do?
Well, what I do is I just sit back in early morning hours when it's dead silent and there's no noise, there's no nothing. I haven't even made coffee yet. I just sit in silence and I just envision what I already have in place, how I can tweak it, how can I make it better, how can I do this? At the same time, how could I add in this creative edge into this that's not been done before? So I just kind of envision, before I write down anything, I first have a vision for it, Then once the vision clicks, I'll start creating an outline for how I want to do this. Then the next step is, how am I going to implement this? What's the impact on these students, on the companies that I work for in the DEI space? And sometimes when I'm even working with the companies, like right now I was working with a a global tech company, and we did something totally different that they hadn't done before yet, right? Sometimes I'll work with them like, this is what I'm thinking. How can we do this? So I'll get there. Like I tell companies, you've got to have some skin in the game. I can sit there and talk to you till I'm blue in the face around diversity and equity, but you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to help me make this happen.
That's right.
Right?
Because it's not going to happen without them. Yeah,
exactly.
Because otherwise you're just a consultant coming in and you're giving them information. It's the same thing if I'm drawing a picture of the vision and nobody's attached to it, then it's just a pretty picture. Nobody cares.
And see, if I give them the tools on how do they do this internally, where they don't even need me anymore. A lot of times you'll get diversity people thinking or saying that they're diversity experts and consultants that intentionally want to keep that company sick so they can keep getting a paycheck.
Oh no, that's so wrong.
What is that doing?
That is so wrong.
What is that mindset doing for this next level of students coming through iUrbanTeen that might land at your workplace, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What is that doing for my sons who are in the workforce now?
Yes.
What is that going to be doing for my granddaughters who at some point will be in your workspace?
That's
I'd rather, I'm this way, and that's why I don't think I'll ever be monetarily rich. I'd rather give them all the tools they can do right now, and attach it to action, attach it to metrics, with everything, if letting them know when they need to pivot so that they can be equitable, and inclusive workspaces. Don't keep paying me for years and years to keep you sick.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and one of the things that I'm listening to is that, so you let the ideas germinate about where you are, and then you envision how you could make it better. So this, my friend Dawn calls this spinning the universe. You're really spinning the universe using your imagination. And then you get a plan, you get it down on paper so that you've got something so that okay, this is what we're going to do. And even if it's with somebody else, you get some partnership in there so that you can make it happen. So you're not the driver of the activity, because
and the thing
you can be the driver at the beginning, but you don't want to be the driver for there
all
on
the way
after.
Through.
Yes, that's right.
But I always say this is the hardest thing to do when you are someone like me and like you in that very creative space, is find people that share your rhythm.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's nice.
Find people that share your rhythm. I spent so many years trying to consult with people who they had no idea what I really wanted to do.
Right.
But I just knew that what they were saying didn't settle well. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
thank you. I'm going to say thank you, but no, thank you. So it took me a long time, and it's still really hard to try to find those people who share your rhythm, right?
Yes.
You're one of those people that share my rhythm.
Yeah, we got to get things going.
I can throw stuff off you back and forth. We're just spending hours spinning ideas, right?
That's right. But then we got to go do them. We got to get people to help us do them. Like somebody's in the background putting together your Peloton machine right now. Is that right? So if you're listening and you hear like this sound, this clanking. So Deena warned me that they were going to put up her Peloton now. And so whoever's back there doing that, keep going and just know that this is what happens in a creative space. You have got to get everything happening at the same time, because there's not enough time in the day.
There's not enough time.
Yes.
Well, now the only thing, Patty, is I'm looking at them putting this Peloton treadmill together. Now I'm going to have to use it. I'm like,
yes, you are. Oh, yes,
I'm going to have to use the thing.
Well, and I would say bite off just a small piece of that. Like I just start on things like that. Well, what's true for me is that I know if I don't dive full in and set a goal that seems like, whoa, I wonder if I could do that, then I will really get motivated to do it. I may not do it the next week, but I will that initial week, getting myself going. So it's the trick to keep yourself motivated. And that's how it is with change too, right? Yeah. You see something that needs to be changed. You get super excited at the beginning, but how do you maintain your own motivation? How do you maintain it? I want to know how you maintain it.
For me, and I got to be honest and totally transparent. This whole self-care thing sucks for me because I don't know how to do it. I am such a workaholic, but I also learned about myself as I have to do this self-care. I have to learn this piece. As much energy that I'm putting into these ideas and these businesses,
yes,
I have to put that in me. I had I have been through a lot of trauma over the last 20 years. One of the coping mechanisms for trauma is to stay busy.
Yes.
So I stayed super busy, and it wasn't
Yeah.
until my husband, my son's father, passed away of cancer in 2019 that I actually hit a wall. I hit a wall, and I basically almost had a nervous breakdown. And I realized at that point, I said to myself, I'm a smart enough woman to know that I got to walk through this trauma, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The trauma that I have been suppressing for over 20 years. And it was a constant, it was a continuum. I just got busier, just revved more up.
Yeah.
But then I thought about that. Look what I created under trauma, right?
Yeah.
I'm honored in the White House under trauma. I'm honored in the Lincoln Center in New York with Oprah, Magic Johnson, all of them because of iUrbanTeen under trauma, right?
Man.
I've been all these things under trauma. And I think that's why they all didn't really resonate with me.
Well, they don't really sink in. You're like, yeah, I did that. I know that because I was on Broadway's, things like this that are major accomplishments. You just sort of brush them off. You don't let them soak in. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. And then on to the next thing, because if you slow down too much, then you have to actually feel what's going on inside of yourself.
Exactly.
And really it takes the passing of somebody who is important to you to wake you up. I think sometimes for me, it did. It was when my mom died. That was when I woke up. I couldn't get out of bed. Honestly, I couldn't get out of bed. I was just like, I don't know, what's the point? And then I had to deal with all the things that had happened in my life. Right.
That's what I've been going through over the past couple of years since his death, is just sitting still and going through the things like, the things that have happened over the years, me being discriminated against in the workplace and all the pushback that I've had to deal with. And it has been a heavy lift for me with all of my businesses here in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, it's gotta be, because if you were in LA, you'd have a lot more alliances.
I would have been, even if I was in New York, Boston, Chicago,
any of the big cities, even Dallas too.
Even Dallas. Mm-hmm. I just look at how well we're so embraced in Dallas and in Houston. And I just came back from Boston. I was in Boston and Portland, Maine, and it was a totally different vibe there as well.
Yeah.
I just loved it. So I feel that being a Black female founder here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of hurdles to go through.
Yep.
A lot of hurdles. And it was a harder path to get here. However, I'm the total optimistic, idealistic person. I feel that all of that struggle, all of the traumas, things that I've gone through, all of the hardships helps make me the mosaic of who I am.
Oh, and you are so beautiful. You're such a beautiful mosaic. That is what's true. And what I love about what you said is that, the composite of you and all of us really is all of the things that we've had to go through, all the, all the N word in your case, all the bottles thrown at me out of somebody's car window in LA, all that stuff. Those are the aggressions that happen. And what's true is you understand you're in essence in the universe for good. You're a vehicle for good. And so you take all that and just say, this is who I am. This is what makes me empathetic, right? This is where my empathy comes from. And this is where my need for connection. And also, this is where I don't know about you, but my fuel to make change in the world comes from. And
you're spot on.
You are just so incredible. And I'm so grateful that our paths cross, because gosh, I mean, you've just been doing so many things since I saw you in Portland. You were like a little lifeline to me in that weird deli that we were eating in with your cute little granddaughter, who's so much older now, Layla Bug.
Yeah, she's 9 years old. She'll be 10 pretty soon.
That is so crazy.
I look at her and I see true leadership in her.
Yeah.
I was honored at Clark College a couple years ago as an Iris Award winner.
Oh, and wow, cool.
When in the audience, my son, his wife, and the girls were in the audience. And when I was doing the acceptance piece, when I was accepting it, I looked over at my granddaughters and I asked the audience, can I have a moment? I have a message I want to give my granddaughter.
Oh my
you know.
God.
And they said yes. And so I asked my son to put Layla up on stage. And I said, because the other ones were way too little. And so I said, Layla, I
Oh,
said, I
wow.
hope that one day you'll understand why your grandmother's being honored here tonight. And I also hope that you'll understand the pathway that I'm trying to create for you. I said, Layla, we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors who were
Yes.
slaves. So it's our
Yes.
responsibility in this life to walk through it with dignity, grace, and integrity.
Oh
Can
my
you
God.
promise me you'll do that?
Oh.
And she shook her head yes.
Oh,
I blew her a
Love
kiss.
it.
She blew me a kiss. The audience was crying.
Oh,
I'm
I
like-
bet. Oh my God.
And I said, ladies and gentlemen, in 20 years, she'll be the one receiving this award. So let's give her a round of applause.
Oh,
and
I
meant it.
love that. Oh,
It's speaking it into existence. Well, I see
That's right.
such a
That's right.
leader. I see such a leader in her. And
Yeah.
I see the empathy in her. There's a young boy in her classroom at school, elementary school, who's autistic. And he says that the other kids bully him, but Layla's the only one who's nice for him and stands up for him. Patty, I almost cried because I said, she's got it.
That's it. She got it. She got the gene and the
She's
imprint.
got the gene. She's got the
imprint.
and the leadership to stand up for others and be fearless with it, right?
Oh, I love it. Stand up for others and be fearless with it. I think that should be all of our call to action, really stand up for others and be fearless with it.
And be
so even if you can't stand up for yourself, be sure to stand up for other people because it makes a huge difference. It really
sometimes
does.
That's easier because sometimes people are less skeptical. They're more skeptical to stand up for themselves and advocate for themselves in the workplace.
Yeah.
But it's easier to advocate for someone else,
Yes.
and to be that lifeline for someone else as well, if you do it the right way.
Yes. And I think we need it. I mean, I think that if, so many people have been a mentor or a door opener for me in my life. And I think for you too, we get these little doors open and then we open the door way wide for other people. We're like, let's get, okay.
We do.
Now
open
everybody
those
go
floodgates,
through.
girl. Open those.
Let's go.
What I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that people need to, like for me, I advocate for everybody. It doesn't care what color you are, what gender, whatever, anything.
Yes.
I believe in fairness. I don't like to see inequity placed anywhere for anyone, and so that's why I always fight the good fight for fairness.
You do.
Yeah.
You're so amazing. You are just, I'm telling you, you're so amazing. Now, what I want you to tell people what you're reading right now so they know what they should be reading too. What are you reading?
Well, right now I'm reading a book called Do Better, and it's all around advocating for others, advocating for yourself, creating equity where you are. I was just at the Harvard bookstore in Boston, and I saw it and I bought it. And so I just started reading it. Very good read. The other book that I just read listened to on audio was a Caste, about the caste.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's a long listen, and you really, sometimes you got to play it back and all, but it's very, very good.
Yes.
There is another book that I'm also kind of in between around equity in schools. So I'm always reading that kind of stuff about.
Well, you got to, you have to. And me too. Everybody should be reading that, because you've got to just change your mindset all the time. And keep up. That's the thing. The other piece about change is you have to keep up with what's important for you and try to push yourself into areas where you don't feel comfortable, so that you can walk into that room filled with white men and you can get what you need from the audience there, right?
Oh God. And it's so funny. When I walked into that room that day, I kind of did the whole church thing with, here I am. And so that they can pause the meeting. So I could walk straight through to the front of the room. And I told some of the guys there, can you move over so I can put a chair here? Because there was chairs in the back of the room, but
that's not going to happen.
Back, okay,
that's right, exactly.
So I went up to the front. I had to move and put a chair there.
Oh my God.
And one of the things that I tell women and people of color when you're in those kind of situations where you are one of none of other people,
right,
is to be engaged. Don't be that wallflower. So as soon as it came time for questions,
yes,
I was the first one that raised my hand. and I asked a question that I already knew the answer to. But I did that, and I do that a lot of times in places they can see I'm here, I'm engaged, I'm a part of this group.
That's right. That's right. I love it. So raise your hand, ask a question, even if you know the answer to it.
Even if you know
Make
the
sure
answer.
everybody knows you're in the room.
Exactly.
Make it happen. And I would say that's true, even if you're on Zoom, because in Zoom rooms, it's really important to show up. So you got to turn your camera on, you got to look your best, and then you got to put your hand up, and you got to put comments in the chat.
Get engaged.
All of that. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Because I've been on some of these Zoom things where it's a lot of people, and these people are just sitting there like quiet, or they have the cameras
Entertain
off.
me. Would you entertain me, please? Because I need some entertainment. Yeah.
And there's a way to have that engagement, even on Zoom or whatever platform.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, in fact, we're having our STEM-Aween for the kids. We've had a couple of virtual STEM conferences for the kids.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're fast-paced, they're fun, they're this and the other, they're engaging, and all. So I think we've pretty much mastered the engaging online presence, for kids and stuff. So you
are. Well, you were engaging before when I came and drew with your kids. I mean, that was really, that was fantastic. I love doing that. So thanks for asking me to do that.
Oh, I know they loved it too.
It was super fun. Now, okay. So give us one last tip before we let you go. What's your one tip about change that you would tell to people, say to people, people who are wanting to make a change? What do you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they learn how to embrace it. Change is inevitable.
Yeah.
So my biggest tip is to be comfortable with change. Be comfortable with the pivot. Always be that constant learner. I mean, I truly embrace change. Even if it's things that I have no control of, I try to understand it and all. But even for myself, looking at, the Peloton, that's going to be change for me, because I'm going to commit. I'm going to embrace. Look, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to look like Beyonce in about 6 months. Okay,
that's right.
What I'm going to embrace.
You can. You
or
will.
Either like her grandma, somebody. But yeah. So I can't imagine not looking forward to the future and change that happens. I think that when you are afraid of change, when you try to stop change, I think that's when you stop growing.
Yeah. And when you stop growing, then you're going backwards. The
you're
rule
going
about
backwards.
Life, you either go forwards or you go backwards.
So
you got to keep going.
So my tip is to embrace it, to embrace change.
I love it. I love you. You're so fantastic.
Oh, I love you too,
Thank you so much for spending this time with us, listeners. We're going to put into the show notes how you can get a hold of Deena Pierott, because you're going to want to follow her on Instagram and Facebook, wherever, all LinkedIn, all the places that she is. So look in the show notes. And I just take this to heart, what she said, embrace change. We live in a time of flux. If we're not going to get to a new normal, flux is our new normal. So get good at change. And I can't wait to see what you do. So if you like what you heard, be sure to write a review about it, or send me a DM in Instagram, because we'd love to have you back. And loved that you tuned in today to listen to all about Deena Pierott. I love you, Deena.
Love you too,
thanks for
sweetheart.
being here.
Thank you for having me on. Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.